Hello and welcome to Wound Up. Well, Joe Hockey has delivered his debut budget and Bill Shorten his debut budget reply speech. To discuss both of these, I was joined by Independent Australia's managing editor David Donovan via Skype. I apologise in advance for the poor quality of the audio in this recording. However, we were relying on Malcolm Turnbull's broadband for a connection after all. David Donovan, welcome to Wound Up.
G'day, Scott Clark. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Well, David, we've finally seen the Joe Hockey budget. What are your thoughts?
We did indeed, unfortunately. Yes, we did see it. We saw it, we digested it, and then we threw it back up. I think that's basically what happened.
Was it as severe as you thought it would be, or was it possibly more severe than you anticipated?
Look, I knew that they were going to bring in a Joe Hockey budget, but I didn't expect it to be quite as bad as what it turned out to be. I don't think many people did. They really have gone in very hard. And so, yeah, in that sense, it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock that they pretty much threw all their ideological marbles out on the table so quickly.
Who are the winners in this budget, David? Are there any winners?
Yes, I think there are winners in this budget. I mean, you look at big business. They don't need to pay maternity leave anymore. Yet all they miss out on, this is the big business, is a 1.5% tax cut. So they've got the same tax rate that they had before, and now they don't need to pay maternity leave. That's a huge win for them, surely. Very generous, ludicrously generous maternity leave, by the way. Sorry, mate, my dog's bloody scratching himself. Look, the budget was really directed at punishing the people who don't vote Liberal. I think that's pretty much the way that you could summarise it. It's what we expected, but just the sheer callousness of the budget probably surprised and shocked many. There'll be a lot of people who voted for the coalition who will be deeply regretting it now, I suspect.
They seem to have targeted primarily a Labor demographic, though I can't help but get the feeling that there are many coalition voters out there that will be equally affected by this budget. Have they shot themselves in the foot?
Well, I think so. I think they have shot themselves in the foot there, Scott. I can't understand why they're so intent on burning so much political capital so quickly. The only thing I can imagine is that they've got even worse surprises to come.
What's the feedback been like on social media? I mean, your Twitter following must rival Malcolm Turnbull's.
I don't think I've got as large a Twitter following as Malcolm Turnbull, but I don't think I've sacrificed any of the quality for the quantity that he's got. Quite frankly, very happy with my followers. Bit of a shout out to them. But look, I think the reaction on Twitter is what you'd expect: shock, horror, revulsion, nausea, disappointment, screams of rage and anger, all the things that you'd expect and want to happen when a bunch of right-wing nutjobs bring down one of the worst budgets that we've ever seen.
As you know, David, I like to finish Wound Up with Maintain the Rage, and I think this budget's going to do just that.
I think you're dead right. I think it's woken a lot of people up. People have been too complacent about this government. They voted out what was quite an effective, although dysfunctional Labor government last time, and brought in a bunch of rank amateurs who are, quite frankly, working for big business. I think people are starting to see that, and I really cannot see the polls getting better for the coalition. I know that there was a poll out today which showed that they haven't lost all that much support, even though 70% of people were opposed to this budget. But their poll numbers, two-party preferred, only went down 1%. But I mean, seriously, I think that is an aberration. Their poll numbers have got to go down by this budget because they've just callously targeted so many people. You know, it seems that not very many people have been left off their list, apart from, as I've said before, big business. Big business get out of this budget. Very, very happy indeed. And Gina Reinhardt not needing to give up her generous diesel fuel rebate of billions a year will be laughing and chuckling.
I think one of the good things to come out of this budget, David, is the fact that for the first time, many Australian voters were introduced to the real Bill Shorten in his budget reply speech.
You're dead right there. Bill came out of the blocks with a flurry, didn't he, on that budget reply? It was terrific work from Billy Boy. I was stunned and amazed to hear what he had to say in the budget. You know, it made me think that he must have been playing dead up until now, because let's face it, it was where is Bill up until the budget reply. But that budget reply was quite inspirational, and it told a lot of home truths to the coalition. You could just see by their reaction as they sat there like stunned mullets that they weren't at all impressed. They weren't pleased, and they were quite taken aback by Bill's passion and fight.
It really was a very measured budget reply speech that really stuck to the core values of the ALP. I mean, there were some wonderful lines in it too. Lines like, "We believe in an Australia that leaves no one behind."
Oh, absolutely. You know, there was lots of good lines. I mean, he started off quite slowly and methodically, and then as he saw that the crowd was behind him, he developed into a good sort of head of rage, if you like, which showed that he had the ticker, that he really cared. And look, he said some excellent things. As he said, I thought the line that he had about creating a massive underclass was a terrific line, because that's exactly what this budget's done. This budget is all about creating a group of people who are so desperate that they'll be willing to accept any job, that they'll go and work in any mine anywhere and do virtually anything that the big business want them to do. This is the $2 a day Gina Reinhardt budget. That's the way it's heading.
David, you mentioned the crowd in the gallery giving tremendous support to Bill Shorten. One of the most incredible things I think to come out of that budget reply speech was the video that emerged of Christopher Pyne instructing Bronwyn Bishop to rise, which of course would bring that applause to an end. Incredible. What do you make of that?
Oh, well, what can you say about that? But this is just yet another demonstration that at the moment Australia is living in a sham democracy. I mean, when the Leader of the House has the Speaker directing the Speaker like a puppet on a string, that's not democracy. I mean, you know, Bronwyn Bishop, she's an absolute disgrace, isn't she? She's thrown out 100, or is it even more than 100 now, opposition MPs during Parliament, but she hasn't thrown out one coalition MP. She sits in coalition party room meetings in the caucus to discuss tactics. She's not an impartial speaker. It's a complete derogation of the whole Westminster system, you know, which she is, as a constitutional monarchist, is apparently a staunch defender of. I find Bronwyn Bishop's behaviour, you can expect, you know, Christopher Pyne is, in his own words, a grub, but you can expect that from Christopher Pyne because he's a partisan political attack poodle. But from Bronwyn Bishop, who's allegedly meant to be the Speaker, it's crazy. It's bad. It's wrong. It fills me with ire. I
guess Bronwyn Bishop's performance as Speaker is a little bit like a cricket umpire that you know, bowls 2 or 3 overs from the cathedral end.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You know, she's in there as the umpire, fielding at first slip. I mean, you know, come on, this is not democracy. Australians deserve a lot better. Australians should be angry about this, that their democracy is taken away from them. And I find the mainstream media a little bit culpable that they aren't focusing on this element of parliamentary decorum more, really.
David Donovan, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us.
Maintain the rage, Scott. Maintain the rage.
For Independent Australia, that's all from Wound Up. Until next time, maintain the rage. And to help you maintain the rage, I'm going to leave the final words to Bill Shorten with a little bit of help from Sir Edward Elgar.
This opposition will support reasonable and balanced remedial budgetary measures, but we will never support the conscious development of an underclass. This is a budget that would seek to demolish the pillars of Australian society: Medicare, education for all, a fair pension, full employment. The very things that this Prime Minister promised not to touch are the first casualties of his fabrications: new and higher taxes. This is the budget of a Prime Minister and a government who wish to tear down everything that Australians have built up. By contrast, Labor invests, Labor educates, Labor believes in an Australia writ large. We believe that economic growth comes from extending opportunity. We believe in a prosperous Australia, prosperity for everyone who works and prosperity which works for everyone. An Australia where your Medicare card, not your credit card, guarantees you access to quality health care. An Australia where the National Disability Insurance Scheme is a reality for people with disability and the people who love them, not a scapegoat for complaints about spending. We believe that science and innovation should be at the heart of national policy, central to our prosperity. We believe in an Australia where small business can grow and thrive. We believe in an Australia that still makes things. Australia with quality infrastructure, including the best digital infrastructure. An Australia that is closing the gap, extending opportunities to its first Australians. Labor believes in an Australia that cares for its environment and takes the science of climate change seriously. Where multiculturalism is celebrated as a social and economic good, not treated as sport for bigots and ideologues. An Australia that is a good global citizen, confident and engaged with the opportunities of the Asian century. An Australia ready for the future and optimistic about the future, investing in the future. This Prime Minister and this Treasurer, they talk a lot about the freedom of the market, deregulating and liberating. Of course you can get rid of fairness and leave people to fend for themselves. That is a kind of freedom. Tonight I say to Australians there is another freedom. It's the freedom of integrity and the freedom of respect. The freedom that gives every person dignity and the right to be treated equally. A freedom of compassion and respect that gives individuals the opportunity to fulfil their potential. That's the freedom that we believe in. This budget undermines that freedom. This budget weakens it. This budget tears at the fabric of our country. Madam Speaker, on Tuesday the Treasurer quoted from Robert Menzies' Forgotten People. But the government forgot a lot of people on budget night. They are the Australians I'm speaking on behalf of tonight and the Australians that I'm speaking to tonight. The government forgot you in its budget, and they have forgotten what makes this country great. It forgot opportunity, it forgot the reward for effort, it forgot the fair go. Well, Labor hasn't forgotten. We still believe in fairness. We still believe in an Australia that includes everyone, that helps everyone, that lets everyone be their best, that leaves no one behind. This is the Australia that the Prime Minister's budget has forgotten, and it is the Australia that Labor will always fight for. If you want an election, try us. If you think Labor is too weak, if you think that Labor is too weak, bring it on. But remember, it is never about you or I, Prime Minister. It's about the future of our nation and the well-being of the Australian people.